Falmouth Community Television presents Town Meeting, Fall 2012. FCTV's live gavel-to-gavel coverage of Falmouth Town Meeting is made possible through the generous contributions of the following corporate sponsors.
Hi, I'm Margaret Gifford.
And I'm Pat Thatcher. We're members of the team at Sotheby's International Realty in Falmouth. And Falmouth has been so busy with real estate.
Yes, it has. I've been so busy I haven't had time to color my hair.
Margaret, that's way too busy.
I know.
Still, it's a great time for buyers because interest rates remain at historic lows.
And it's a great time for sellers because the inventory is so low.
So that's increasing demand.
Yes, it is.
Don't you love Falmouth?
Nestled in a classic New England setting amid 200-year-old elm trees and charming colonial homes, stately sea captains' homes, and charming Cape Cod salt boxes, Shoreway Acres is a graceful blend of Cape Cod's past and present. Shoreway Acres, proud sponsor of Falmouth Community Television.
Founder Abraham Penn taught a valuable lesson that has been part of a tradition since 1919 when he said, "I'd rather make a friend than make a sale." For more than 90 years, Puritan has been making friends as a unique family-owned company right here in Cape Cod. At Puritan Cape Cod on 199 Main Street, as well as Chatham, Mashpee, and Hyannis, you'll find the latest in men's and women's clothing, as well as ski and tennis equipment, and much more. Puritan Cape Cod, 548-0116 or PuritanCapeCod.com.
Welcome to Falmouth. If you're a visitor, this is where surf and sun meet for fun. If you're a resident, this is where you'll find the businesses and the resources necessary to fill all of your needs. If you're a business person, this can be your home. Join with other men and women who work together to make this a sustainable economy year-round. Welcome to Falmouth, Cape Cod.
Green Harbor Waterfront Lodging is nestled in a woodland setting on a picturesque ocean inlet. Green Harbor offers so much for a fun-filled yet affordable family waterfront vacation. Enjoy our private boating beach with ramp and dock, free rowboats and paddle boats, oversized heated outdoor pool and kiddie pool. You'll enjoy our attractive waterfront and beachside accommodations. So visit us online at gogreenharbor.com.
Cavosa Excavating is a family-owned and operated company specializing in the installation of Title V septic systems. Cavosa Excavating is one of the largest septic system installers on Cape Cod. Whether it's upgrading your current system or installing a whole new system, Cavosa Excavating can do the job. Cavosa Excavating, 508-563-5530.
Remember, WC Communications is your printing team. We are calm and cool under pressure. You can call us at 508-563-7366 or toll free at 1-800-696-7303.
Internet services provided by Cape.com Incorporated. Established in 1994, Cape.com is the only locally owned and operated internet service provider on Cape Cod. Our specialties include e-commerce applications and design, wide area networking services, and high-speed DSL internet access throughout eastern Massachusetts. Cape.com continues to lead the way with cutting-edge applications, superior networking services, and quality customer support. For more information, visit us at www.cape.com or call us at 539-9500.
The Nimrod, a restaurant steeped in history and tradition, is located on Dillingham Avenue. Their phone number is 508-540-4132. They offer an extensive lunch and dinner menu for all your tastes and spirits for any occasion. The Nimrod features music to suit all moods in a warm atmosphere. The Nimrod is a proud sponsor of Falmouth Community Television and their coverage of town meeting. Stop by and visit us at the Nimrod Restaurant.
Additional funding and support provided by the following corporate sponsors.
We've earned people's trust for over 180 years. We're proud of our heritage and the enduring relationships we've built with our clients. For us, trust is more than a word. It's the only way we do business, and it's why people choose Janney.
Leah McGuire's Irish Pub, Main Street, downtown Falmouth. What an Irish pub should be. Sláinte.
Hi, this is Robert Pino of Mortgage Security, located right here in the town of Falmouth for 21 years. We're a direct lender, a mortgage banker. You make your payments locally. And we've got a great staff, a courteous staff, and a very friendly staff.
Bayside Kitchen and Bath on Main Street in Falmouth, where design and installation professionals work closely with homeowners, architects, and builders. Offering a full range of cabinetry, flooring, faucets, and green alternatives, Bayside Kitchen and Bath, returning you to beautiful spaces.
Eastman's has been Falmouth's hardware store since 1913. Today, we offer a paint department, over 30,000 fasteners in stock, and a friendly staff to assist with all your hardware needs. 508-548-0407.
Beata Nurses provides home health care for you or your loved one. Whether you need homemaking, home health aid, or skilled visit services, from 1 hour to 24-hour care, Beata Nurses provides a safe home life with comfort, independence, and dignity. 508-540-0071.
Wild Harbor General Store, located in historic North Falmouth Village, providing quality goods and services for 170 years. Continuing to make history with our support of FCTV's coverage of Falmouth Town Meeting.
Carpet Barn, Carpet One Home Showcase, a local family-owned business offering all your premier carpet and flooring needs. They also feature tile and vinyl floors, area rugs, window treatments, and kitchen and bathroom cabinetry, serving you at 4 convenient locations.
Bringing you the news through the years, The Enterprise. Their subscription information line is 508-299-8379, and you can visit them on the web at www.capenews.net. Cavosa Disposal is proud to provide trash removal services to local businesses in Falmouth. Cavosa Disposal would like to thank its customers in Falmouth. Cavosa Disposal, 563-5070.
FCTV is also supported by the following businesses and organizations. Michael A. Duffany Builders, Incorporated, 508-540-3625. Kevin D. Callahan, your full-service law firm at Homeport, 457-7700. Falmouth Volunteers in Public Schools, 508-548-1621. The Bank of Cape Cod, at 445 Main Street in Falmouth, bankofcapecod.com. Wood Lumber Company at 81 Locust Street, 508-548-3154. Neighborhood Falmouth, meeting seniors' needs, 564-7543, neighborhoodfalmouth.org. Green Shuttle of Cape Cod, 866-934-6476, or gogreenshuttle.com. Foley Real Estate at 703 Main Street. The number is 548-3415. M.R. Sars & Company, Flower Garden Nursery at Sandwich Road in Hatchville, 548-5288. Danny's Barbershop, 508-548-6013. Eight Cousins Bookstore at 189 Main Street in Falmouth, 548-5548. Paul's Precision Automotive Repair at 464 Main Street, 508-548-3164. David Rogers Electrician, Residential, Commercial, Industrial, 564-7507. Murray McDonald Insurance Services Incorporated at 406 Jones Road in Falmouth and 550 MacArthur Boulevard in Bourne. Falmouth Fish Market at 157 T-Ticket Highway in Falmouth. Hamilton Tree Incorporated, 508-563-7633 or www.hamtreeandland.com. Oppenheim & Nickerson LLP. Their law office is at 156 Locust Street, 508-548-8255. Davy Tree and Lawn at 996 East Falmouth Highway, 548-2662. Andy's Barbershop in the Falmouth Plaza. Arthur D. Calfee Insurance with 2 locations at 121 Conby Road in North Falmouth and 336 Gifford Street in Falmouth. Chapman Cole & Gleason, 508-540-4172. Hanush Jewelers, now at 352 Main Street in downtown Falmouth. The number is 548-9107. Mahoney's Garden Center at Route 28 in East Falmouth. The number is 508-548-4842. Vincent Associates Real Estate at 159 Main Street in Town Hall Square. The number is 548-6500. The Cape Cod 5 at 763 Main Street. The number is 457-5252. Cape Cod Cleaning, 508-563-7622. Steve's Pizzeria and more at 374 Main Street in the center of town. 457-9454 or 457-9636.
in the Falmouth Enterprise. Our tellers this evening in the first division will be Mrs. Taschereau. In the second division will be Mr. Dufresne. And in the third division will be Mr. Hampson. Mr. Chairman, how you doing?
Good. Just remember, I'm new at this. I have no idea what I'm doing.
Okay. I'll say, Mr. Chairman, and I'll look at you. Do we have two mic carriers? We have no plates and Okay, the first thing we need to do is establish the presence of a quorum. Would all town meeting members present please rise for the establishment of a quorum? And the tellers will return to count. In the first division, Mrs. Taschereau. 46. In the second division, Mr. Dufresne. 97. In the third division, Mr. Hampson.
70.
70. By a count of vote of 213, we have a quorum, and I call this annual town meeting into session. All please rise for the presentation of the colors by the Civil Air Patrol. Please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This time I'd like to introduce 8th grade student Hope Blanchard for our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave?
This time I'll introduce Andrew Putnam for our invocation.
Heavenly Father, may our meeting this evening be not only an exercise of care and concern for our community and its residents, but also an example of how a community can agree and disagree and still be a community. We ask you to watch over and protect our families, our community, our nation, and our world. May your gift of peace become a reality for all. Amen.
This time, the Brian Baru Pipe Band will play Amazing Grace for our moment of silence in honor of all of those members who have fallen since our last meeting. Colors posted. The Brian Baru Pipe Band, the Civil Air Patrol, and 8th grade student Hope Blanchard. popular opinion tells me that we're going to be here tomorrow night. So we have our annual appeal tomorrow night. If you could bring non-perishable items for the Falmouth Service Center, but also on Sunday, November 18th, Sunday, November 18th from 1 to 4 o'clock, you can drop off turkeys and other fixings down at the Service Center. So that's, again, Sunday, the 18th from 1 to 4 o'clock. They'll be taking turkeys at the Service Center. At this time, I'd introduce the town clerk for swearing in of town meeting members. Mr. Clerk.
Because everyone was reelected this time, we're going to swear in everyone all at once. So I know you all wanted to hear me mispronounce people's names, but we're going to have everyone stand at once. I'm just going to swear everyone in again. Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear and affirm that I will faithfully perform the duties of town meeting member according to the best of my ability and agreeable to the Constitution and laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the United States of America, and the bylaws of the town of Falmouth. So help me God. Congratulations.
Congratulations and welcome back. For our new town meeting members, that this is your first election, we are going to be doing, before the April meeting, an orientation. There are very few folks that have never been in town meeting before, and in order for us to purge the list during the election cycle, it was getting a little difficult. So we're going to do the orientation just before the April town meeting. So if you've never been a town meeting member before, you'll be able to learn a little bit through this meeting, and then we'll have the question and answer session just before the April meeting. At this time, I'll read the officer's return of the warrant. By virtue of this warrant, I have this day notified and summoned the inhabitants of the town of Falmouth qualified to vote on town affairs as said warrant directs, by posting an attested copy thereof in Town Hall and every precinct in town, signed by the Constable Paul Byrne. At this time, I start with a motion to dispense the reading of the warrant. Mr. Chairman of the Board of Selectmen.
Yes, I move to dispense with the reading of the warrant, except for the officer's return.
You've all heard the main motion to dispense with the reading of the warrant. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, unanimous. Mr. Clerk, I ask that the warrant become an official part of the record of the meeting. At this time, the Chair will entertain a motion for non-town meeting members to sit up front with their respective boards and committees. So moved. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, unanimous. At this time, the Chair would entertain a motion for all town employees who are not residents of the town of Falmouth to have the right to speak on all issues before this meeting. So moved. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, unanimous. At this time, I'll recognize the Planning Board for a notification of public hearing.
In accordance with Chapter 40A, Section 5, Massachusetts General Law, Article 43 of the Falmouth zoning bylaw, a public hearing was held on October 2nd, 2012, on Articles 3 and 4 for the November 13th, 2012 annual Fall Town Meeting, and all those who wished to speak were heard. Thank you.
Okay, if you could turn to the back of your warrant booklet on the back blue cover, we'll review the simplified rules for town meeting. Speaking and voting. Registered voters, residents, and taxpayers of the town may speak on any article in the warrant. Persons who are not voters, residents, or taxpayers of the town may address the meeting only with the consent of a majority of those present. Only town meeting members may vote. Motions and amendments. Motions and amendments may be made only by town meeting members. 2 amendments will be accepted on any article. Long or complicated motions and other motions which he shall so request shall be presented to the moderator in writing. Reconsideration. Reconsideration will be allowed at any time during the meeting if the article does not involve the appropriation of money. If the article involves the appropriation of money,
Notice of reconsideration must be given within 30 minutes of the vote on the article. Reconsideration may then be allowed at any future time. The moderator shall determine if the motion to reconsider is in order. Motions for reconsideration must be based on substantially new information not available to the meeting at the time of the original debate. The motion to reconsider is not debatable. Our hours of operation, first night 7 o'clock, subsequent night 7 o'clock, and we'll close at 11 o'clock unless Mr. Hampson makes a motion and you vote by 2/3 to stay. Okay, tonight we're going to use the blanket vote. What I will do is I'll go through each of the articles, give a brief description, calling your attention to the recommendation. If you would like to debate the article or you want action to be taken that's different than what is in the recommendation, please stand and yell hold. The clerk will make a note of it. After I go through the entire warrant once, I'll run through just by number on the second run. And then I'll accept a motion from the Finance Committee to accept all articles not held as recommended as the official action of town meeting. And then we'll serve notice of reconsideration, and then we'll begin with Article 1. So Article 1 is a hold to hear reports. Article 2, unpaid bills. Article 3, the windmill zoning bylaw. Hold. That was almost too good to be true. Article 4. You notice the recommendation is slightly different. This is dealing with the definition of structures in the zoning code. Article 5, to authorize the Board of Selectmen to grant an easement. Article 6, to adopt a bylaw for temporary repairs to private ways. The recommendation is indefinite postponement. Article 7 is a hold. We have a new main motion. Article 8, this begins the Home Rule Charter amendments. This is dealing with vacancies of town meeting members. Article 9, Home Rule Charter amendment for the Rules and Procedures Committee. Article 10, the amendment again for the Rules and Procedures Committee, dealing with the town clerk serving as an ex officio member and mailing notices for town meeting. Article 11, another amendment for the Watchman of the Warrant. Article 12, powers of the Board of Selectmen, communicating policies to be carried out by the town manager and making recommendations to town meeting. Article 13, another amendment dealing with governmental bodies. Article 14, another charter amendment dealing with the planning board. Article 15, a charter amendment regarding town manager appointments. Article 16, charter amendment for administrative organization. Article 17, charter amendment for the acting and interim town manager. Article 18, a charter amendment for publicizing vacancies. Notice that the language is slightly different on the recommendation than the printed article. Article 19, a charter amendment for general provisions applicable to appointed town boards. Article 20 is a charter amendment dealing with enforcement. Article 21, a Home Rule Charter amendment dealing with revisions of bylaws. Article 22, Charter Amendment dealing with definitions. Hold. Article 23. This is to approve contract of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Local 1636. The recommendation is indefinite postponement. Article 24, contract for the International Association of Firefighters, Local 1397. The recommendation is indefinite postponement. Article 25, contract for Laborers International Union of North America, AFL-CIO, Local 1249. Hold by the Board of Selectmen. Article 26, Superior Officers Association contract. The recommendation is indefinite postponement. Article 27, Lieutenants, NEPBA Local 165. The recommendation is indefinite postponement. Article 28, to amend the town's salary administration plan, creating a new grade 10A. Article 29, amending the town's salary plan by deleting an Assistant Superintendent Parks Forestry grade G12 and adding one Deputy DPW Director at grade 10A. Article 30, to amend the salary administration plan to add a Fisheries Technician at grade G7. Article 31, to appropriate a sum for the Capital Improvement Stabilization Fund. The recommendation is indefinite postponement. Article 32 is a hold for a new motion by the Finance Committee. Article 33, to rescind 4 previous authorizations. Article 34, appropriate a sum of money for a feasibility study for all multi-purpose athletic field at the high school. Hold. Article 35, to request the Planning Board to draft an updated zoning bylaw for wind turbines. The recommendation is indefinite postponement. Hold. Article 36. Hold. Article 37. This is an amendment to the Home Rule Charter. The recommendation is indefinite postponement. Hold. Article 38. This is a resolution dealing with the Pilgrim Nuclear Power Station. The recommendation is indefinite postponement. Article 39. This is the Falmouth's Eco Toilet Demonstration project. This is a hold. Article 40. This is to conduct studies for the wastewater nutrient discharge into sites 7 and 10. Hold. Article 41. To support the Board of Selectmen and the Consensus Building Institute process. Hold. Article 42. Hold, Ms. Siegel. Article 43. This begins the Community Preservation Committee articles to appropriate the sum of $201,500 from the Community Preservation Fund from estimated receipts for the purpose of historic preservation for the restoration of the foundation of the Historical Society's Conant House. Article 44, to appropriate the sum of $63,000 from the Community Preservation Fund estimated receipts for the purpose of historic preservation restoration of the exterior of the bell tower. So hold. Article 45. Hold. Article 46, to appropriate a sum of $8,600 from the Community Preservation Fund undesignated fund balance for the purpose of open space for Phase 2 of the invasive plant removal project. The remaining $4,616 to complete the project will be raised by the Oyster Pond Environmental Trust. Article 47, vote to appropriate the sum of $839,353, $295,142 from estimated receipts, and $544,211 from the Community Housing Reserve account previously appropriated under Article 38 of the April 2007 town meeting for the Community Housing, for the Affordable Housing Fund. Article 48, vote to appropriate $80,000 from overlay surplus for the purpose of the assessor's revaluation. Article 49, to adopt the provisions of Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 54, establishing a limit to the tax exemption allowed under said statute to personal property valued at $2,000 or under. That's the recommendation. Hold. Article 50, to approve. Okay, hold. Article 51. This is the school department budget. Hold. Article 52, to appropriate sum to make adjustments to the fiscal 2013 budget. Hold. Article 53, to appropriate $175,000 from certified free cash for a fish ladder between Cedar Lake and Rands Canal at Bay Road. Article 54, to appropriate $50,000 from certified free cash for dredging. Hold. Article 55 is a hold for a new motion. Article 56, to hold. And Article 57 is a hold by the Finance Committee. All right, we'll run through them one more time. Article 1 is a hold. Article 2 is a hold. Article 3 is a hold. Article 4. Article 5 is a hold. Article 6. Article 7 is a hold. Article 8. Article 9. Article 10. 11. Article 12. Article 13. Article 14. Article 15. Article 16. Article 17. Article 18. Article 19. Article 20 is a hold. Article 21. Hold. Article 22 is a hold. Article 23. Article 24. Article 25 is a hold. Article 26. Article 27. Article 28. Article 29 is a hold. Article 30 is a hold. Article 31. Article 32 is a hold. Article 33. Article 34 is a hold. Article 35 is a hold. Article 36 is a hold. Article 37 is a hold. Article 38. Article 39 is a hold. Article 40 is a hold. Article 41 is a hold. Article 42 is a hold. Article 43. Article 44 is a hold. Article 45 is a hold. Article 46. Article 47. Article 48. Article 49 is a hold. Article 50 is a hold. Article 51 is a hold. Article 52 is a hold. Article 53. Article 54 is a hold. Article 55 is a hold. Article 56 is a hold. Article 57 is a hold. Mr. Chairman of the Finance Committee, for the main motion.
approved in the blanket.
Is the microphone on?
Mr. Moderator, I move all articles approved in the blanket.
Okay, the main motion is all of the articles as recommended. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, unanimous. Mr. Chairman, for notice? For a notice of reconsideration?
I move reconsideration of all articles approved in the blanket vote.
Okay, notice of reconsideration has been served on the blanket. Article 1, this is to hear reports of committees and town officers. We have a number of committees that have asked to report this evening, and I'm going to start with the Board of Selectmen.
Thank you much, Mr. Moderator. Thank you very much, everybody. Board of Selectmen would just like to, at this time, acknowledge a few individuals. First of all, would like to introduce to the town meeting a couple of our new employees. One happens to be Jennifer Petit, who is our new Director of Finance. Is Jennifer here, please? Ladies and gentlemen, your new Director of Finance. Another new employee in the last several months is our new Personnel Director, Denise Coleman. Denise, are you here this evening? In the back of the room. As most of you all know, Falmouth is, and I'll quote a term of former Selectman Virginia Valiela, Falmouth is a can-do town. And the can-do aspect of this community is because of the number of volunteers that we have. Folks who go above and beyond the call of duty, who give their own time and the time from their families, from their hobbies, and even from their work experiences, including each and every one of you who is a volunteer this evening. But the first person I'd like to acknowledge on behalf of the Board of Selectmen is, and if I could get him to come up this evening, is Gary Anderson, former chairman of the Finance Committee. Mr. Anderson, please. If I could read the following proclamation voted on by the Board of Selectmen. Whereas Gary Anderson is a proud citizen of the town of Falmouth and one who is impressed by the level of excellent volunteerism and involvement for which these efforts contribute significantly to the quality of life in this community. Whereas Gary's background in running $100 million businesses with both American Express and Fleet Bank provided him the skills in finance to best serve the town through his role as a member of the Finance Committee. Whereas Gary was appointed in September 2003 to serve in the Town Finance Committee with a commitment to helping town ensure its financial stability through the oversight of fiscal policy and providing reviews and recommendations of the financial issues. Whereas in 2004, Gary was appointed Vice Chairman of the Finance Committee. Whereas in June 2006, Gary is appointed to the Chairman of the Finance Committee and served in that position until June 2012. Whereas in June 2011, Gary formed the Capital Advisory Group to provide guidance on local government. The town of Falmouth and the Board of Selectmen wishes to convey its gratitude for all Gary's selfless donations of time and his dedication to the people of Falmouth. Now, therefore, the Board of Selectmen and the town of Falmouth do hereby proclaim Wednesday, November 14th, Gary Anderson Day. On behalf of the entire board and everyone in this community, I'd like to thank you.
Thank you very much. I am truly honored to have this award, this proclamation,
But the reality of it is that this group and the Finance Committee that serves you is really who deserves it. God bless you all, and thank you.
And the last person I'd like to acknowledge this evening has served this town well. In the transformation of the years this person has worked for this community, we have seen a notable change within the community. Respect for the department that this person has headed, not only from the community, but those who work in the department as well. If I could bring up retiring Chief Anthony Riello, please. Thank you, Chief. This is one guy I do not quickly relinquish the microphone to because he will quickly garner the microphone. But another proclamation, if I may read it into the record. Chief Riello, a proven police executive, began his law enforcement career in 1978 with the Pittsfield Police Department. Whereas with the Pittsfield Police Department, he served as patrolman, dare officer, sergeant, detective sergeant, lieutenant, and captain before being appointed chief in 1997. He was appointed chief of the Falmouth Police Department in 2007, a position which he holds till today, his last day in actual official office. Chief Riello was a past president of the Mass Chiefs of Police. Chief Riello is proud to serve the Falmouth community and believes that police mission is to serve and protect together. Some of Chief Riello's major accomplishments were the reorganization of the Falmouth Police Department, the inclusion of the community, and his proactive stance in making Falmouth Police Department a more professional organization. Therefore, we, Kevin Murphy, Brent Putnam, Mary Pat Flynn, David Braga, and Doug Selectman of the town of Falmouth, authorized and vested in us, do hereby proclaim today, November the 13th, as Chief Riello Day. Chief, on behalf of the entire community and the Board of Selectmen, we would like to thank you for your years in service.
Thank you for those kind words and the kind reception. Still not going to get Priuses, though. Anyways, I told Captain Dunn, soon to be Chief Dunn. Yeah, no kidding, us too. That was a ruse, too, I guess. We still have the money. No, folks, I'll only take a couple of minutes because I know you're going to be here for several hours. I'm not, but you are. I'm going to miss that. But I just want to quickly say that the last 5 years in Falmouth, for me, actually were the best of my career. And you're just a great community. And I'll tell you, I just had the time of my life. I really did. And I love this community, and the department is just, they're tops. They're tops. You got the best there, man. And we leave it in the capable hands of soon-to-be Chief Dunn. I've had it all week. I've had him take the stars off. He would have them on before I got to the station in the morning. And I said, no, not till the 14th. But anyways, we are leaving the department in the capable hands, has the support of the men and women there, and they support the community as well. So, folks, I really appreciate your kindness, and good luck and Godspeed. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. For any of you that don't know, my name is Tim Madden, and I represent part of Falmouth in the Great General Court, and it's an honor to be your representative there. I'm here with my colleague, Representative Vieira. You know him as the moderator, but also as your representative. And he explained to me that he's in charge today, even though I have seniority, by virtue of being the moderator, and that I shall be brief, and I will. But before I start in on Tony, I wanted to say to Gary Anderson, congratulations. You have done a thankless job. You know, we talk about the chief being a thankless job, the town manager a thankless job, and without a doubt, the Board of Selectmen being a thankless job. But when it comes time to spending money, that's where you've been on the hot seat. You've had to deal with all those individuals, and granted, you gave due credit to this body and to your fellow committee members. But serving on the Finance Committee is really a yeoman's job, and you've done it extremely well, and this town is fortunate. With that, I just want to move on to Tony. He can be quite humorous, as we all know, and I am one of those people who absolutely adore someone with a sense of humor. I quite frankly never expected I would say that of a police chief, but with that, I think you've made that job one of the most remarkable things for anyone to try to fill your shoes. This community was struggling a bit. Every community does, whether it's with the police department, fire department, board of selectmen, town manager. No matter what the agencies are, there's not a town in the Commonwealth who hasn't had to deal with adversity. But to find the person who can guide them out of that adversity in a short time is really a treat. And you were treated to the chief. He dropped out of the air, I think, parachuted right into Falmouth about 5 years ago. I happened to be in the selectmen's meeting when he was giving his first presentation to the board. And it was my first really chance to get an opportunity to see him go on and on and on and on, much like myself. And what I appreciate was the fact that he did have that sense of humor. And he codified that really, I think, kind of last April, where he stood before this body with this slideshow, which quite frankly, once again, your moderator forbade me from bringing my slideshow. But he sat here with this slideshow and had this room in stitches. At the same time, he was asking for money. Even Gary Anderson couldn't stop that. So, Chief, that's an amazing feat. You deserve a lot of credit for doing it. I know you would much rather have had Hope Blanchard sing your praises. She is truly a talented young lady, as this town is full of talented individuals. But it's been an honor to be in this town serving with you. I know we both do a little bit of commuting, but we always enjoy it when we're here. And you've done such a terrific job. I didn't even know you didn't live here. I thought you lived at the station.
He's everywhere. He's
right,
everywhere.
Exactly. But Chief, it's been a pleasure, and I really have enjoyed getting to know you. And I may take up skydiving myself. As much as I'm in a plane, it'd probably be a good thing. Now I'm going to turn it over to my wonderful colleague and your moderator, David Mayero.
Thanks, Tim. I'll be brief. Chief, I'm going to need you to come up to Beacon Hill next week. I need a new speechwriter for the second term, so hopefully you can help me out with that. As you know, I'm very serious, too often, too much so, and I've always admired the sense of humor that the Chief has, and hope that he can help me along the way. Chief, as a lifelong Falmouth resident, we went through some struggles here before you arrived, and in a short 5 years, when I was at the ceremonies we've had over the past year at the department, I've seen an esprit de corps that I haven't seen, at least in my short time here. So on behalf of all of the residents of Falmouth, I want to say thank you for bringing back the pride, bringing back the sense of esprit de corps with our police department. And I know that Captain Dunn, soon to be Chief Dunn, hopefully not just acting chief, but Chief Dunn, will continue to show that this department can grow and can respond to the needs of our community in a way that we can all be proud. So with that, Chief, I'd like to issue you a citation from the Massachusetts House of Representatives. Be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Chief Anthony Riello in recognition of your service and dedication to the town of Falmouth as Chief of the Falmouth Police Department, and for your constant commitment to improving and protecting our community as a whole. Congratulations on your retirement. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors, given the 13th day of November, signed by the Speaker, Robert DeLeo, myself, and Representative Madden.
Thank you very much. Folks, it really has been an honor and a privilege for me to serve you, and I just want to end by saying that. You guys are the best, man, I'm telling you.
This time the chair would recognize the Charter Review Committee for a report.
Here we go. Good evening, I'm Brad Stumke, and on the slide you see the other members of the Charter Review Committee. Tonight I want to give you a very brief status of our committee's work and our future schedule. Over the last 14 months, we've interviewed 21 town officials, held many committee meetings in Town Hall, 2 meetings in the Herman Room at the library to solicit public comment, plus a questionnaire for town meeting members and a survey for the general public. As you can imagine, we received a great deal of information, so it was a challenge to get our arms around the 60-odd suggestions. Using a 1, 2, 3 priority system, we arrived at the 15 proposed changes you see reflected in your warrant book, Articles 8 through 22. However, not wanting to disregard other valuable input, we intend to include other meaningful inputs in our final report to the Selectmen. We have already started on our final report, but obviously we're waiting for your final vote on our recommendations tonight. All the changes that town meeting approves will be sent to the Attorney General for review. This review process will take several weeks. Once approved by the Attorney General, each article will be placed on the May 2013 ballot as individual questions. That concludes my presentation, and the committee will be happy to answer any questions on the 2 held articles when town meeting takes them up. Again, we thank you for your support.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stumke. Community Preservation Committee? We have a report? Yep, Ms. Cuny.
Good evening, Mr. Moderator and town meeting members. I'm Sandra Cuny, Precinct 2. I'm chairman of the Falmouth Recreation Committee and the appointed representative to the Community Preservation Committee, otherwise known as the CPC. That's it. On behalf of the Community Preservation Committee, this short presentation is to enlighten Falmouth citizens and town meeting members regarding the use of taxpayer monies from the Community Preservation Fund. Next slide. The Community Preservation Act, known as the CPA, Mass General Laws, Chapter 44B, is statewide enabling legislation allowing cities and towns in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to adopt a property tax surcharge of up to 3%. Revenues from this surcharge, plus state matching funds, must be used only for open space, recreation, community housing, and historical resources. The CPA requires that at least 10% of CPA funds received each fiscal year be spent or reserved for open space, historic resources, and community housing. Recreation was an allowed categories with monies available, but it wasn't a 10% required until the recent legislation, which has now made recreation a part of the open space category. Next slide. Falmouth Town Meeting voted approval of the CPA in November of 2004 in Article 13. It followed the April 2005 town meeting, Article 32, which was the approval of the bylaw that codified the committee contingent on a ballot vote. And in May of 2005, Falmouth voters passed the CPA to be effective July 1st. Next slide. In Falmouth, the local revenues from the CPA are dedicated in repaying the previous land bank obligations. The history being The Cape Cod Land Bank Bill, adopted by voters in 1998, collected a 3% surcharge on all property taxes, which accessed millions of dollars over 20 years to be used exclusively for open space. The town of Falmouth appointed the 300 committee that was established here in 1986 to oversee the land purchases using land bank funds. In 6 years, the town of Falmouth purchased 904 acres of land in 31 land transactions, committing $38 million in future payments. There's a list of those parcels available on the 300 committee website if anybody wants to review them. Next slide. Because of the existing 3% surcharge for land bank debt, Cape Cod was designated as having a modified CPA, which means the CPA funds received from the property tax surcharge of 3% must cover the land bank debt. At this time, the Community Preservation Act is authorized in Falmouth until 2020. According to Mass General Laws, Chapter 44B, Section 16, it clearly states the town may not amend the amount of or revoke the 3% surcharge on real property until the fiscal year 2020. However, the land bank debt extends well beyond that year to 2035, and that's primarily due to the purchase of the golf course. Next slide. The Community Preservation Committee consists of 9 members, 1 from each of the following appointed by their own committees: the Conservation Commission, the Planning Board, the Housing Authority, Historical Commission, and the Recreation Committee. There are 4 at-large members appointed by the Board of Selectmen. And right now, the Board of Selectmen are currently advertising the 4th at-large position. So if anyone is interested to join us, please fill out an application at Town Hall. Next slide. The Community Preservation Committee wouldn't be where it is today without the leadership and commitment of these past members. And so they deserve acknowledgement and certainly our personal thanks. With CPA state matching funds since its passage in 2005, the Community Preservation Committee recommended actually 71 projects for town meeting, and 70 of those have been approved by town meeting. From April and November town meetings of 2006 to April of 2012, a total of $13,588,228 has been spent in the 4 allowable categories. And this is quite impressive because this is state matching funds. The next 4 slides, we'll take one at a time, are pictures, examples of projects that we completed. We took 1 from each category. This is the Haddad parcel. It expanded Minot Beach by 700 feet. $290,000 of CPA funds went towards this project. Next. Historic preservation, the restoration of town documents. We made Michael Palmer very happy, didn't we, Mike? $150,000. This is quite impressive, the before and after. And just so you know, these are required by law that we keep them. Next slide. Recreation, near and dear to my heart. These fields were built on the Dupuis property that was bought with actually land bank funds. It qualified because it was a new creation for recreation. As you see, it's mostly all CPA money, but we did have $46,500 by the Jimmy Gainen Charitable Foundation that have helped to finish these fields. We have Falmouth Youth Lacrosse, Pop Warner, and Babe Ruth using them right now. They also take time to help out in the maintenance, help the DPW, and we have more than 400 of our youth playing on these fields today. So thank you very much, everyone. Next, community housing. $500,000 of CPA funds towards this project. This is located behind the old VFW on T-Ticket Highway, which is now the greatly improved old schoolhouse. Another wonderful project. The committee has actually had a tour of the inside, and they came out beautiful. Next parcel. Next slide. The Community Preservation Committee weighs very carefully the use of taxpayer dollars. With town meeting's positive support, we've been able to make many important improvements and purchases in the past 7.5 years. On behalf of the CPC, we'd like to say thank you to town meeting members and Falmouth citizens, and we hope to have your continued support in future endeavors. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Cuny. We'll now have a report by the Wind Turbine Options Process Group.
Turbine option process. I'm going to be introducing the members as they filter down here. If you just sort of raise your hand as I introduce you. You could go to the first slide in our presentation if you would. Next slide. We have 5 residents who are from the adversely impacted neighbors. They have health and economic impacts. Todd Drummy, Kathy Elder, Alden Cook, Diane Funfar, Jim Leuchten, and we have some alternates up here, Malcolm Donald, John Ford, and Maurice Rowe, who is not up here, I don't believe. 2 residents who are primarily concerned with the Falmouth Climate Action Protection Plan to reduce use of fossil fuels, Sierra Karpelis and Megan Amsler. See you here? Oh, right behind you, okay. Next, we have 2 residents who are concerned with the fiscal benefits provided by our turbines, Kathy Driscoll and Joe Hackler. And there's 2 residents who have, are supposed to have strong empathy for all perspectives. I'm in that category, and Judy Fenwick, who's right over here. 3 representatives of our town government, Dave Bailey from our Assessors Department, Karen Cadera from our Human Services Department, and Bob Shea from our GIS Department. I failed to mention Linda Davis, who's an alternate with Judy and I. And lastly, we have 2 selectmen who've been sitting in on the process, Doug Jones, Mary Pat Flynn, and Nils Bolgen from the Mass CEC also participate. At this point, I would like to introduce our facilitator, Stacy Smith, who's right here. She is employed by the Consensus Building Institute, which we refer to as CBI, out of Cambridge, Massachusetts. She's been working with the community since early in 2012. She'll explain the process to you. She'll take you through a series of slides. The CBI has been facilitating and mediating and providing public engagement services since 1993. It's been involved in the comprehensive wastewater management plan for our town, and it's also been mediating, or also has in the past mediated and facilitated with public agencies and the public at the Mass Military Reservation Superfund cleanup site. Mr. Moderator, because Ms. Smith is not a resident of the town of Falmouth, I would like to place a motion on the floor to allow her to make a presentation on behalf of our process.
Okay, the motion is to allow the CBI facilitator to speak. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, unanimous.
Thank you very much. Hi, everyone. It is my honor to speak to you today on behalf of the participants of the wind turbine option analysis process who have been working tirelessly on the very challenging issue of what to do for the future of the town-owned wind turbines. If you can go to the next slide. I'm going to briefly just walk through the process to date, just to let you know what we've been doing, what led us to this point, and a little bit of an overview of where we are now and what our next steps are. So the process to date began in January of this year. The town of Falmouth engaged neutral facilitation from the Consensus Building Institute. My services are being paid for by Mass CEC, but I was selected by the Board of Selectmen. I began by doing an assessment and talked to 52 different people who had something to say about the turbines. And based on all of those interviews, I put together a report of my findings. I sent it out to everybody I spoke to, and I got their input, and then I revised those findings. I then drafted some process recommendations about how to bring people together, and I had a public meeting on April 12th, and based on input from that public meeting, those recommendations were revised. In April and May, representatives were self-selected or selected by their constituents to participate in the wind turbine option analysis process. The process had its first meeting on May 30th. The neighbors representatives joined the process on June 19th. And we have been meeting weekly with a couple short breaks. So far, 19 weeks and 2.5 hours or more per meeting, plus a lot of work in between meetings. So this group has been working very hard to try and move us forward toward some really good options. I want to point out that we have been posting all of our information on a website, and it's cbuilding.org/FalmouthWind. If you go to the next slide. This is just a screen capture of that website. It tells you a little bit about what we're doing, and then it has a lot of information over here on the side of all of the reports and the information that the group has asked for over the time. If you go to the next slide, it also goes meeting by meeting and has all of the agendas, the meeting summaries, and it also has all of the links to the FCTV video of the meetings. You could go and watch any of the meetings at any time. So this group of representatives is meant to represent the range of interests that people have about the turbines. And this came out of the interviews that I did, the assessment that I did. I found that people's concerns about the turbines included the health, safety, and well-being of impacted abutters, the property rights and economic impacts on property values for abutters, concerns about the climate action plan for the town, as well as progress on climate action overall, fiscal impacts of costs and revenues on the town, and also I found that people were really concerned about town unity and reconciliation. This has been such a divisive issue, and it's been so challenging for everyone in the town to deal with. And so the group also has specific representatives who are here to try to speak for town unity and reconciliation and to make sure that there's a fair process for all. The group, just to go back for 1 second, the group, I want to highlight that the group is seeking outcomes that can address, at least to some extent, all of these concerns. And they're not necessarily seeking just one outcome. They're seeking a range of outcomes and to understand the outcomes. But each of the outcomes that the group is examining need to try to address all of these concerns, at least to some extent. So the committee's tasks. First, they were going to develop a widely acceptable shared history of events of what got us to this place. We had put that task aside temporarily, but the group has now boldly taken it back on. So we are working to try and compile a history of what brought us to this place with the turbines. The group seek to clarify the range of potentially acceptable long-term options. So what might they be able to do that can address all of these core interests? To identify the questions that they needed to answer in order to understand what the implications of those options would be. They worked together to determine how to get answers to those questions, such that when the answers came, they could know that they all could accept those answers. They weren't going to say, no, I don't agree with that. They were really working to make sure that all the answers and the data was going to be something that, from all perspectives, they could agree was valid. And they have been jointly reviewing and interpreting the data as it comes in, and asking questions and asking for more data as we need. The group is also working to evaluate the options based on the information and based on the interests that they each represent. So far we have developed a long list of options. We've identified questions and information gaps. We've acquired a lot of available information, acceptable information, and asked for more information. They've developed some initial analyses of some of these initial options. They've started to put them together into packages, and they are now working on getting additional information to really hone what these packages are and the analysis, understanding what those packages would imply. So just a short list of some of the pieces of information that the group has asked for and received to date, and all of this information is available on the website. From understanding turbine sound to understanding how we might reduce turbine sound at the home or at the turbine site itself, how you might change the turbine to make it quieter, how you might put up photovoltaics that would also respond to the energy needs, how you might move the turbines to another location and where that location might be. They've looked at shadow flicker. They've looked at DEP's noise monitoring findings. They've been examining a range of curtailment scenarios and what the financial implications of those would be. So they've really done a tremendous amount of work in figuring out what the questions are and what the answers might be. So I want to stress that all the options that participants have raised have been looked at by the group or are being looked at by the group. There's a couple of things that the group, in its deliberations so far, has decided are not options that they're pursuing further at this time. One of those is berms and barriers and physical structures that would reduce noise. They're also not looking anymore at mechanical alterations to the turbines because there are none that are commercially available at this time. They've also, at this time, put aside moving the turbines to another location. And I want to say a little bit more about this one because I know that it's an issue that the town meeting members will need to deal with later tonight or this week. The group looked hard at where possible locations in Falmouth might be that they could move the turbines and avoid repeating some of the same problems that they're facing now. They did locate a place where the turbines might go. However, as they explored that location, they found that there's an unlikelihood that it would meet FAA approval. That there would be a need for easements to access the land. The cost would be quite high, currently estimated at about $4.5 million. The timeline for the whole permitting process would be long, in the range of 2 to 3 years. And there would be potential noise impacts on base housing at MMR, because it's up near, this new site would be up near MMR. So while it wouldn't be within half a mile of any Falmouth residents, it would be within half a mile of base housing, and the group was concerned about that. So for those reasons, the group is not recommending moving the turbines at this time. So some of the packages that the group is currently looking at. Running the turbines all the time and buying homes to meet DEP noise regulation and offering other combination of mitigations for impacted neighbors. They haven't honed down exactly what they are, but looking at insulation, sound insulation, home purchasing, compensation for any lost property damages, which they also haven't fully defined what that would be yet. And this option, they think, would probably require additional funds to cover its costs. And by additional funds, they mean money from the state, ideally, or money from the citizens of Falmouth. curtailing one or two of the turbines to conform with DEP noise regulations, and also offering these some combination of these mitigations. And again, you'll note that this would also require additional funds. A third package that they're looking at is a deeper curtailment of turbines for some set of evening or night hours that would be more specifically designed to address the health and sleep concerns of neighbors. And it would also contain perhaps some additional other mitigations, and this option would also require additional funds. And the fourth option that they're looking at is removing both turbines, reselling them, and erecting a photovoltaic array. And this option would also require additional funds. So as you can see, the package is under consideration right now. It's looking like all will require some additional funds. But the group is still really trying to figure out exactly how to put these together so that they are, at least to some extent, responsive to all of the concerns of the interests, and also to really understand what the cost implications of each of these would really be. They're also looking at feasibility and timeline, other considerations and contingencies. So all of those things are what they're looking for. They are seeking consensus on the analysis and the implications and the data. The group is not necessarily seeking consensus on the desirability of these options. Right? They're not going to necessarily agree on which is the best package to move forward, but they are going to agree, we hope, on what the implications of these packages would be. And this is a big step forward. So they're honing the packages. They have 4 more meetings scheduled to finalize their findings and their report, and plan to present the report to the Board of Selectmen in a face-to-face meeting by mid-January, also in writing. And the Board of Selectmen will then determine the next steps. This might mean coming back to town meeting. It might mean a ballot. It might mean a financial request to the state. This will all sort of depend on the Board of Selectmen once the report goes to them. One final note, the group as a whole made an agreement that no participant can speak on behalf of the group as a whole, and it's important that everybody realize that the group as a whole has not made any recommendations about any of the articles being considered by town meeting, and that any statements in the media do not reflect the statements of the group as a whole. The group as a whole statement is right here in this report. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you all, and I will continue working with the Turbine Options Group, hopefully for a very successful process report at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks to the members of the group. Mr. Chairman of the Finance Committee for a report.
I want to first say I'm glad Gary's here tonight, because otherwise I figure at the break people would be coming up to me and saying, "You're not Gary Anderson," as he's been doing this for many years. But good evening, Mr. Moderator, Mr. Chairman, Select Board, Town Manager, Assistant Town Manager, and fellow citizens. My message will be brief. As we have been blessed to live in one of the finest seashore communities in the United States, it is imperative we carefully balance the many needs of our community with our limited financial resources. Be assured that your Finance Committee spent many hours preparing for Fall Town Meeting. Meeting weekly, we are pleased this evening to present our recommendations on the many articles and capital requests presented for our in-depth review. Working with our Town Manager, much time and effort, was spent reviewing capital improvement plan items for town meeting. These items are a very positive step forward in rebuilding the town's infrastructure. We applaud department managers for submitting their CIP request in a way that was fair to all departments. In making our recommendations on capital requests, it is our sincerest hope that monies will be spent as recommended by FinCom, as this opportunity to spend monies on capital items has been a long time coming. While CIP requests received and voted on are a good start to rebuilding our infrastructure, much work remains to be done. As the new Capital Advisory Committee gets underway, we look forward to its recommendations as to a well-thought-out and long-term plan for the many capital projects facing our town. Slowly recovering from the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression, we must remain more diligent than ever to safeguard Falmouth's natural resources and infrastructure, being careful to balance our financial dollars and the needs of our taxpayers. With the hiring of a new finance director, scheduled to begin work actually on Monday, we look forward to developing a collaborative effort of financial oversight and review. It is imperative that we use our tax dollars and grants wisely, investing in our community for our citizens. In closing, and on behalf of the Finance Committee, I would like to take this opportunity and thank Gary Anderson for his many years of service to the Town and Finance Committee. For 9 years, Gary served as committee member, vice chairman, and chairman, stepping down as chairman in July and stepping off the committee in October. Thank you, Gary, for making a difference.
Okay, the question will come on the main motion to accept the reports. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it, unanimous. Article 2. Article 2 is paying unpaid bills from a prior fiscal year. Mr. Chairman of the Finance Committee, for the main motion, Article 2.
I move Article 2 as recommended.
Article 2 as recommended. Who held Article 2? Okay, yep, microphone. Our microphone carrier this evening is Thomas Moakley from Falmouth High.
Linda Toby, Precinct 4. My question on Article 2, through you, Mr. Moderator, to the head of the Finance Committee. I noticed the expense under Finance Committee is $2,299.67, and it's for UMass Boston Collins Center. Could we have some details on that expense, please?
Mr. Chairman.
We'll need to get that for you.
Okay. And can I just make a comment on this Article 2? I've just noticed over the years, I know this is for unpaid bills that don't get turned in the week or 2 weeks before town meeting, and I understand that. And it used to be for hundreds of dollars, and this time it's for over $10,000. I really think people maybe need to look at when they turn in bills and get them turned in a timely fashion. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
That line item requested is consulting services to the Finance Committee.
Okay. Any further discussion on Article 2? The question will come on the main motion. As recommended, this requires a 4/5 vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. The ayes have it by the 4/5, and I so declare. Article 3, Planning Board for the main motion. Mr. Herbst.
Good evening, Mr. Moderator. Ladies and gentlemen, Ralph Herbst, Precinct 8, Chairman, Planning Board. I move Article 3 as printed.
Article 3 as printed.
We have a presentation that will be made by our Vice Chairman, Pat Kerfoot. But before I do that, I would like to recognize the Planning Board members and our staff for almost 2 years of work on this article. If you turn to the first page in your warrant booklet, Pat Kerfoot, she has a, if these members would please stand while I introduce you. Pat Kerfoot has an environmental background. Jim Fox has a real estate development and a management background. Doug Brown has is a local builder and developer. Paul Dreyer has an engineering background and management. Richard Latimer has a legal background, and Robert Leary is a retired teacher with expertise in construction and computers. Myself, I have a background in engineering and business, but thank goodness Orville and Wilbur Wright invented the airplanes, and that's what I did. I'd also like to recognize our staff members, Brian Curry, who brings many, many years of expertise in planning and this type of issues. Brian, you all know Brian. And his assistant, Marlene McCollum. Marlene has recently been the recipient of being a mom. And she's not here tonight. She had the option, stay home and change diapers or come to town meeting. She chose to stay home. So is there a message there? I'm not sure.
My wife gave me the same choice, but I decided to come to the meeting, so.
Okay, at this time I'd like to introduce Pat Kerfoot, who is our Vice Chairman, and she will make our presentation on Article 3.
Thank you, Ralph. I'm speaking on Article 3 tonight, the wind turbine bylaw. Next slide. There may be a question as to why we are doing this. There are two very important reasons. Next. All you have to do is look at that picture. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. Simply, the current windmill bylaw is way out of date. It's 31 years old and counting. It does not meet Falmouth's current needs and is wholly inadequate for today's wind energy systems. Today's turbines can have rated capacities measured in millions of watts. The inadequacy became obvious when the Zoning Board of Appeals was presented with a permitting request for the Webb engineering turbine. The issues went far beyond what the current bylaw can require in a decision, so they struggled without bylaw guidance in regard to performance requirements and setbacks, for example. They did an admirable job considering the lack of necessary guidance. That alone argues for modernization of the bylaw. A second argument for a modern bylaw was the management issues surrounding operations of the existing larger turbines at Technology Park, the wastewater treatment facility, and Woods Hole Research, including the public's complaints about noise and the alleged health effects. Some of these issues could perhaps be managed through a new zoning bylaw. Next slide, please. We followed a development process. We asked town meeting to vote a moratorium for 1 year. We asked them to renew it for a second year. This gave us time to have some breathing room for new bylaw development and also to allow time for anticipated state and county guidance. And we want to thank you for that vote, allowing us the development time. We then started collecting information. Technical turbine information regarding function, noise, setbacks, and any information that could help the board with development of a new zoning bylaw. We collected example bylaws. We collected and utilized studies commissioned by various states and looked to countries more experienced in wind energy systems than we are. We also collected bylaws from many sources, not only towns in Massachusetts. We discovered that there is no uniformity of experience or knowledge that is accepted for guidance. Wind energy is a science still very much in development when dealing with turbines instead of windmills. We have a stack of information, I don't know, maybe that high, that any of you are welcome to go and look into if you like. We discovered that each government entity, lacking the guidance of the experience and knowledge we were seeking, created their own regulations perceived to best fit their needs. The board discussed potential bylaw provisions at 18 meetings. One of those meetings with the Board of Health to understand each board's role and jurisdictions or limitations. We conducted 3 public hearings. I don't ever remember that happening before, to develop, during the course of developing the new bylaw that would take into account today's technology and the impacts of larger turbines can have or may have. The public, all of you who attended those meetings, generously shared with the board. We learned much from that input, both personal experience, and you generously gave us access to more collected scientific information than we had even collected, and that we appreciate. May I have the next slide, please? The Planning Board's guidance in writing the new bylaw was the precautionary principle, which is also known as prudent avoidance. When there are unknowns, and I just told you how our research indicated multiple unknowns, the precautionary principle dictates that you err on the side of caution and form your decision accordingly. For example, because noise impacts from large wind energy systems are in dispute, the Planning Board erred on the side of caution and limited the size of wind energy systems in the new bylaw to a rated capacity of 250 kilowatts. Based on what we, as your Planning Board, know today from our study of numerous documents the board members have read and listened, that the board members have read, and listening to public input, the current draft of the new bylaw before you today was created. The next slide, please. I want you to look carefully at this because it compares the old bylaw for windmills, 31 years old, compared to what we are presenting to you for a potential new bylaw. The town's current bylaw has a significant lack of definition, as can be seen from the comparison slide. We have run into trouble because of lack of size limitations, lack of appropriate definition of accessory, both of these are defining these accessory usages, but it wasn't defined what accessory should be in this instance. Lack of zoning district requirements, and a huge lack of any technology standards. The new bylaw carefully spells out requirements for the perceived trouble areas. Turbines can be built in only certain zoning areas, and not all sizes of turbines can be built in the allowed zoning districts. The technology standard requirements in the new bylaw cover that which is required to be presented in the application process, which include details for site plan, engineering, operation, as well as a sound impact analysis and a flicker analysis. It spells out the criteria for review, including system height, physical setback, and sound setback. To obtain a special permit, the applicant must demonstrate compliance with both sound and safety setbacks. The board's goal is to protect the residents from annoyance while setting standards for responsible wind energy development. May I have the next slide? What I'm going to do in the next few slides is to anticipate questions that you may have. The first one is, what does zoning do? Basically, zoning is all about competing land use. In Falmouth, we have many different zoning districts, such as business, agriculture, and residential. Zoning exists to protect neighbors against incompatible uses next door. To further enhance protection Within and between zoning districts, we have setbacks, such as front and side yard setbacks from streets and other structures. They can be and are different district to district. Next slide, please. Can zoning bylaws regulate health impacts? It's not a yes or no answer. It's both. By separating land uses through zoning districts and setbacks from others that may have perceived health impacts, such as landfills and airports, for example, the zoning bylaws can have indirect health impacts. However, the planning board cannot directly write bylaws that would serve as human health regulations, such as the proper handling of food or the treatment of sewage. Only the Board of Health can do that. In this case, when we are talking of regulating wind energy systems, the planning board can only regulate districts, setbacks, and audible noise. We can regulate what happens on the property itself in regard to safety, construction standards, and site plan. In that manner, zoning can have an indirect impact on health. Next slide, please. Why did we require 51% of generated power be used on site? This resulted in quite a bit of debate by the board. The 51% use requirement is from the Massachusetts Department of Energy Resources Model Zoning Bylaw of January 2009 for an on-site wind turbine. In our case, wind energy systems are accessory uses, not principal uses of the land in the model, like in the land in the model bylaw. It is not intended that a wind energy system act as a standalone power plant. We didn't have that in our prior bylaw. We don't want to include that in our present proposed bylaw. The purpose section spells this out. It's the first and guiding principle in the development of our bylaw, that it will be an accessory use. Therefore, a metric was needed to define accessory. 51% is the number used in the Commonwealth's model bylaw. Next slide, please. Why did we choose a limit of 250 kilowatts rated capacity? Well, the planning board visited several turbines, including the one located on Woods Hole Road, owned by Woods Hole Research Center. This turbine is 100 kilowatts and is located in a residential neighborhood. Based on the experiences operating this turbine and others, the planning board initially decided that 200 kilowatts would be the maximum, given the power needs of a typical business. The board later revised this thinking based on the permitting of the J.K. Scanlon turbine in the tech part, which is rated at 250 kilowatts for that office building. The next slide, please. How did we determine the limits on flicker annoyance? The Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection and the Massachusetts Department of Public Health Impact Study, dated January 2012, recommended no more than 30 minutes per day and no more than 30 hours per year at the point of concern. The Planning Board recommends a very conservative 30 minutes per day and no more than 10 hours per year in the proposed bylaw. Next slide. Will the setback requirements in the new bylaw be protective of nearby residences? Yes, we believe it will be protective. Given the 250 kilowatt limit on the size of the turbine, the safety setback of 110% of the total height, and the sound setback of no more than 8 decibels over ambient background sound from the property line. All of these measures are from the property line. We believe that it will be protective of safety issues such as ice throw and nuisance noise level. Next slide. Except for certain exempt uses, does this new bylaw apply to all new turbines, municipal or otherwise? Yes, in fact, it does apply to all turbines. Now, there's a however in here. Certain exempt uses, such as a farm, may not need a special permit if the power is used to run its irrigation system, thereby furthering its agricultural objectives. There are some others that are covered by law. The next slide, please. Oh, so why didn't the planning board simply follow the state law? Well, we extensively used the state model bylaw in drafting the new bylaw. However, where changes were warranted, for instance, setback standards, the Planning Board chose what it believes to be in the best interests of this community. The state guideline was simply that, a guideline. Each community, and there are 351 in Massachusetts, is free to put its own versions in there based upon what they believe is best for their own community. Next slide, please. So these are the critical points that I'm going to ask you to think about tonight. We cannot renew the moratoria for an additional year. As of May 1st, 2013, when the current moratoria expire, we will have had 2 years to gather information and create a new bylaw. That's it. That's what you're allowed. The bylaw before you for your approval tonight is far better than what we currently have. If we cannot agree on a replacement bylaw before the expiration of the moratoria, we will return to the current inadequate bylaw. And the bylaw before you tonight is always subject to review and amendment as better information becomes available, including, when I hope you pass it tonight, if there are certain things that should go in as amendments, we can certainly put those in as amendments in the spring town meeting. The Planning Board asks you for a 2/3 majority positive vote tonight. I wish to thank the planning staff and the Planning Board for the extraordinary effort expended to produce the detailed bylaw that you have before you tonight. In my 12 years on the Planning Board, I have never seen such a concerted effort to produce something. Also, I want to express thanks to Brian Curry for development of this presentation, and especially Bob Leary for adding the color and the swirls and so on to the PowerPoint presentation. Thank you.
Okay, Article 3, Mr. Latimer.
I'm Rich Latimer. I'm speaking here not as a member of the Planning Board,
but
as a town meeting member. And I am proposing an amendment to this article. And I'll state the purpose of this amendment is not because I think the article is bad as it's written. I think it's good, and I want everybody to vote for it. But because the selectmen have said they are going to oppose it for one reason. And the one reason that they have given us is that, as written, it would tie their hands if it applied to the town because they would not be able to move the turbines. Now, I'm expressing no opinion on whether the turbines should or should not be moved. If that's an option the selectmen feel is important, despite the recommendation of the advisory committee, I would respect that concern. So I have therefore proposed an amendment, and it would read as follows. It would be an amendment that would come in at Section E of the bylaw, applicability and exceptions, and it would simply be the third exception, and it would read very simply, properties owned and or to be acquired by the town of Falmouth for municipal use shall be exempt from the provisions of this bylaw. This exemption shall be reviewed semi-annually for further amendment as may be deemed appropriate by town meeting. Now, as a practical matter, the selectmen cannot do anything with the existing turbines and certainly can do nothing with new turbines without coming before this board. So that amendment does nothing to impair the purposes of the bylaw. It simply would give the selectmen what they say they need in order to have the flexibility they need in resolving the existing problem we have. So I would call upon the selectmen to agree that this amendment satisfies their concerns and to support the amendment and then the amended bylaw. If the selectmen will not do that, then I would suggest that we just go forward and pass the bylaw as it is by 2/3 majority. So before I would call on the chairman of the Board of Selectmen to say whether or not he will support this amendment and then the bylaw as amended, and if not, to explain why. Thank you.
Okay, so the amendment is, if you go to Section E, adding a new number 3. Properties owned and or to be acquired by the town of Falmouth for municipal use shall be exempt from the provisions of this bylaw. This exemption shall be reviewed semi-annually for further amendment as may be deemed appropriate by town meeting. Any discussion on the amendment? Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Moderator, if I could read into the record, please. During its meeting on November the 5th, 2012, the Board of Selectmen unanimously agreed it was not prepared to support the wind turbines bylaw at town meeting. The board requests that town meeting allow that the wind turbine options process be continued and its discussions and allow the process to move forward. The board requests that the town wait until the spring town meeting to pass this bylaw when the wind turbine option process has come to a conclusion. And if I may elaborate, as we all know, the wind turbine options process got off to a rocky start. To be able to have it to be successful, we needed everybody at the table. We were unable to convince the neighbors who were being severely impacted by the wind turbines to come to the table. The board voted to ask me to intervene and speak with the neighbors. I did so on behalf of the board, and the commitment that we gave the neighbors was, in fact, that all options would be on the table. I commend the planning board for working diligently over the last 2 years. I think Ms. Kerfoot did an excellent job presenting this article tonight. However, Mr. Latimer is proposing an amendment that the board believes would provide the same mistrust that is currently out there in this community in regard to wind turbines. The board had considered an amendment to this motion and decided that the best process was the process to allow the debate to move forward this evening, provide the impetus and the opportunity to be able to make sure that this bylaw is in fact palatable to town meeting, and then wait until spring town meeting to pass it. This provides faith in the community and faith in the process. We heard earlier with the presentation in regard to the wind turbine options group has put this aside. But this option is still not off the table. This option is on the table. It is our belief that if you take off one option, it would lead to the ability to take other options off the table. I think it's important that we build trust and faith within the community, build trust and faith with those neighbors that are affected. By pulling this option off at this time would be incompatible with that option. So we ask that you have a full debate on this issue this evening, that we flush out any concerns that the community might have, and that we have the ability to pass this bylaw at the spring town meeting when and if we have another option come before this article in the spring town meeting that would provide for the town to relocate the turbines. That may or may not happen, but we still have the opportunity to wait till the spring to pass this bylaw. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Flair?
Alan Fleer, Precinct 6, and I think the comment I'm going to make is applicable both to the amendment and to the article in general. And I just want to point out some existing bylaws in the bylaws for public use district. That's 24030. For the business districts, that's 24047. For light industrial A, that's 24053. And for light industrial B, that's 24059. And for all those sections, those zoning sections, those sections are called permitted community service uses. And under B, in all those 4 districts, it states all municipal purposes, including the administration of government, parks, playgrounds, recreation buildings, town forests, watersheds, water towers, reservoirs, beaches, fire and police stations, and armories, does not exclude turbines or wind energy systems. So the way I would interpret that is that municipal wind energy systems in any of those four districts, public use, business, light industrial, A and B, would be exempted from the provisions of this bylaw. That's my statement.
Ms. Lichtenstein?
Leslie Lichtenstein, Precinct 8. I just would like some clarification on the wording of this amendment. It says, this exemption shall be reviewed semi-annually for further amendment as may be determined appropriate by town meeting. Exactly what does this entail? Does this mean that every time we have a town meeting, we're going to go through it again? We're just kicking it down the road? Instead of doing it all once and doing it correctly, we're just going to, well, we'll argue a little tonight, and then we'll do it some more in April, and then we'll do it again next fall. I guess I want to know exactly how and what this reviewed semi-annually is going to entail. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Latimer, I'll let you address that, but in order for us to do anything at town meeting, there has to be an article on the warrant. So if we were going to do this at future town meetings, someone would have to put an article on the warrant to do that. Mr. Latimer, did you want to address it as well?
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Yes, that would be up to somebody to put an article on. That would be the planning board. Then that would be occurring on a semi-annual basis to review for the semi-annual town meetings. And that would kick in. What the amendment would be simply when the issue with the present wind turbines out on Thomas Landers Road is resolved, we'd come back with an amendment that would put the town back in. That's all. Now, I believe that this, despite Mr. Fleur's comments, I believe that this bylaw as drafted will bind the town because it applies to everything, any wind turbines, any other provisions of the bylaws notwithstanding. And I would ask Mr. Curry to comment. Is that correct?
The question was about whether or not there's the exemption.
Okay. I would ask later at an appropriate time when we're discussing something else that Mr. Curry comment on that concern that the town would be in any event exempt from the bylaw, because I don't believe that's so. Thank you.
Okay, we'll come back to that question then when we get back to the main motion. Yep, microphone to the right, please. Ms. Elder.
Thank you. Catherine Elder, Precinct 6. I would just like to comment on something Mr. Murphy said, that the neighbors were expecting all of these options to be on the table. And speaking as a neighbor, I would like to say that I believe that all the options are on the table, and that the vote from town meeting on this bylaw should be independent of that. This bylaw is a well-considered bylaw that protects the whole community, and I think we should vote it in as is with no amendments. No one thus far has given one perfectly good reason or any good reason why the town should be exempt from a permitting process. And if someone could give me any good reason why the town should not go through the due process of vetting by the planning board when putting up any wind energy system, I would like to hear what that reason is. Thank you.
Ms. Hayward, right behind there, Ms. Hayward.
At a meeting of a Nancy Hayward, Precinct 5. There was a meeting relating to the addition at the Falmouth Historical Commission, which I complimented Mr. Ament for having a public hearing on this. And he made the comment to me about the town and its exemption from bylaws
because I'm concerned about the town being exempt. My understanding of Mr. Ahmet's statement was that there would have to be a change in the state regulations for a town to be exempt from zoning bylaws. Can, Mr. Moderator, can Mr. Duffy shed any light on that? Are towns always exempt, or do they always have to abide by the town bylaws? Thank you.
Mr. Duffy.
Hello. Towns are not automatically exempt from their zoning bylaws. In the particular situation that we're talking about, the zoning bylaw provides that wind turbines are allowed in certain districts as a municipal purpose, because all municipal purposes are allowed. So it's not an exemption. It allows all municipal purposes.
On the amendment, Mr. Zweig? On the amendment, yeah, we're on the amendment. Whether or not to allow the municipal exemption. Do you want to speak on the amendment? No, on the main motion? Okay. Any further discussion on the amendment? Yep. Is it Ms. Shepherd?
Susan Shepherd, Precinct 1. So I'd like some clarification on this. Is Mr. Fleer right that the town it is exempt, in which case we would not need this amendment? Or does, in fact, this bylaw supersede the town's exemption?
Yep, whoever wants to. Yep. Mr. Curry.
If the town meeting members will take a look at paragraph B, wind energy systems allowed with limitations. We'll also look at paragraph E, the applicability and exceptions. There's some language in there that's important. It states any provisions or requirements of this chapter to the contrary notwithstanding, no wind energy system as defined shall be blah, blah, blah. Also on E, for applicability and exceptions, you'll see again that any provisions or requirements of this chapter to the contrary notwithstanding, blah, blah, blah. And it's there for a very specific purpose. It's there to make sure that everyone understands that this trumps all other sections of the zoning bylaw, whether it's the applicability section or the exceptions, that you need a special permit for a wind energy system from the planning board. Now, as we know, we'll get any number of legal interpretations, but my understanding, that language is there for that purpose. This bylaw, this section trumps all other sections of the zoning bylaw.
Okay, Mr. Latimer.
Again, I had asked for the selectmen to give a rational basis why they would not support the bylaw if this amendment is in place. We did not get that. We are given some amorphous concern about trust. Again, anything that would happen to those turbines in West Falmouth or to any other new turbines comes from this town meeting, and if we can't trust ourselves, we're in a lot of trouble. So since I'm not going to get the selectmen's support on this amendment and then the article as amended, I will withdraw the amendment, and I will therefore request that we pass the article as printed by 2/3 majority. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Putnam, any discussion on the amendment? We've got an amendment on the floor, so we're going to have to vote it down. We can't just withdraw it now that we commence debate.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Brent Putnam, Vice Chairman, Board of Selectmen. To answer Mr. Latimer's question, the Board of Selectmen don't have a duly posted meeting at this time, so we cannot, as a board, vote and make a decision on this amendment. What I can say, from a personal perspective, and you all will have this decision to make, I am no longer a town meeting member. I took Mr. Putnam's suggestion to heart, and I act as a member of the executive board, not as a member of also of the legislative body in this town. But I have a problem with exempting any government or government entity from any bylaw that applies to the general populace. From a philosophical perspective, and Mr. Murphy touched on this, it's sort of what got us into this trouble in the first place. Exempting government bodies or government entities from the very bylaws that the citizens are expected to adhere to, it makes me uncomfortable. Thank you.
Okay, we ready to vote on the amendment? Mr. Heath on the amendment? No, just vote it? Okay. The question will come on Mr. Latimer's amendment, which he wants to withdraw, but in order for us to do that, we have to vote it down. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. No. The chairs at the noes have it, and the amendment does not pass. Further discussion on the main motion. Mr. Zweig.
Ron Zweig, Precinct 1. Thank you, Mr. Moderator, for the opportunity to address the body tonight. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for the opportunity to address the town meeting this evening on Article 3. First, I'd like to praise the Planning Board. As you can see from the article, that the bylaw there's been a tremendous amount of work done on this bylaw, but there are a number of things that are, I think, significant flaws within it. And the first one is that there's a direct connection between this bylaw and Article 35. And Mrs. Kerfoot mentioned that they had used a model ordinance from the state from 2009. Well, that model ordinance has been superseded in June 2011. And in that model ordinance, one of the things that's missing is the 50% or 51% usage on site. Next slide, please. So the three basic areas that I'd like to discuss, the concerning different factors within it: legal, technical, and financial. Next, please. On the legal, there are a couple of things. One is that with the Green Communities Act, the Green Communities Act has a neighborhood net metering proponent that allows 10 households, 10 of you could get together and put up a turbine on a lot, a vacant lot, or a lot that is with an operation, a home or a business. But you would be limited to the 51% of usage within that lot. So if it's a vacant lot, you couldn't do anything there. If there was a house there, you could go 51% of the energy would have to be used by that home. So the economics of it and the rationale for this goes against the spirit of the Green Communities Act in that way. Next, please. Then if we look at the mass zoning law, Mass General Law 40A, Section 3.1, actually. In this, I've had a legal opinion from the state on this, and they've indicated that, and they've looked at the bylaw, or at the article, and found that basically it goes against this law in that there is no exemption for agriculture. I can't find anywhere in this bylaw the mention of an exemption for agriculture, and that is something that is therefore inconsistent with state law and needs to be resolved, or possibly they may be throwing this back to the town. Next, please. There are a few technical elements. One is on the 250 kilowatt limit. Basically, there's no such limitation in the state model bylaw. And why, if the system complies with all sound, flicker, setback, etc. factors, why would you have this limitation? Let's say in 2 months from now, a 300 kilowatt machine comes on the market that has basically is quieter than any other turbine and therefore complies. It's even better for a site and would actually fulfill the the needs of the investors, why not go with that one? Why would you limit it to 250? We don't know what's coming in the future. So that's another issue. Then there's another requirement of, let's say someone wants to put up a small turbine, and concerning the MET tower, the meteorological tower requirement, you have to put one up for a year. That's going to cost thousands of dollars to do that. And the thing is that that 1 year, I don't know if that's a good indicator, because between 2010 and 2011 on the Martha's Vineyard, they've got about a dozen turbines over there, and the energy production was 13% lower, 23% lower overall in 2011. So if you had a turbine up at 1 year or another, there's a huge variability that can occur. In that case, it was 23%. So, and another important element to that is that the Clean Energy Center has an online tool. And that online tool, you can put in your longitude, latitude, the terrain around it, the height of the tower, the type of machine. You can pick from about 30 different machines, put it on top of that tower, and it'll give you an indicator of what kind of energy would be produced. And this is from collecting data all over the state, including Falmouth. The data is coming from wind turbines across Falmouth. It's being fed into this system, and that can help. So there's the need for a meteorological tower. If you're putting up a huge turbine, I mean, not huge, but a megawatt or whatever turbine, you may want to do that because of the investment, but this tool is very good, particularly for small wind systems. Next, please. Then there's another element in this, and that concerns the noise factor that we're all very concerned about in town here. It says you don't need a permit for a turbine that's less than 300 watts or less. Well, if you look at the data that's available online, you'll find that the noise that's emitted from these within about 20 feet is about 60 to 70 decibels. The highest measurement at the town's industrial scale turbines was about 50 decibels. So we're above about 100 to 1,000 times louder system at 300 watts, and there's no permit needed. Someone could put one up on their property line right outside your bedroom, and you'd have this whirring sound going on because you don't need a permit, basically. And these are data from the manufacturers, so I presume that they're conservative at least. Next, please. Then on the financial factor, if we limit it to 51%, I've not seen any models or any work done that shows that if you put up a turbine with that limitation, and the state has taken it out of its more recent model bylaw, but if you put one up, is it going to be worth it? Will it be financially of interest to a homeowner or a business? It's kind of like telling a business, well, if you want to expand and develop another aspect to your business, and you comply with all the license agreements and everything that's involved, you still have to, your profit margin can only be 20%. Even if you comply with all the laws, all the local ordinances and everything, your limit is 20% profit, and that's it. If you go over that, sorry, you can't do it. So anyway, it's unclear what the rationale is. And would this also apply to photovoltaic systems, 51% used on site? Would we have to, another renewable energy source? Would there be a similar limitation to photovoltaic systems? So these are all questions and within this document, and if they go into effect, they're going to be major impediments to renewable wind energy development. Next. Thank you. So anyway, I just want to say that based on this, I just recommend that this be voted down for now, and that the planning board come back to town meeting in April and bring a bylaw that has taken these factors into consideration and made a much more practical approach. So anyway, thank you very much.
Mr. Netto. Microphone for Mr. Netto, please.
Joe Netto, Precinct 9. Some clarification from Mrs. Carefoot, if I may, please. Could you please explain to me the implications of Section C3?
where the systems are prohibited. Is that correct? That you wanted to?
Yes.
Okay. We wanted to limit the size of the turbines. We chose 250 kilowatts to limit it. What we have now out, the Webb turbine and the two town turbines are 1.65 megawatts. I believe that's about 7 times the size of the 250 kilowatts, close to. We felt large turbines were not appropriate for a town the size of Falmouth with the density of population, that there were not sufficient distances from residences and potentially affected residents in those residences from the potential siting for larger turbines. So that's that one. Okay, and we go to accessory. We defined accessory in terms of the 51% used on the site. We did not have an accessory definition in our bylaws, in our zoning bylaws, that pertained to power. We had it as pertained to buildings on lots. So we had to create a new accessory definition here. Mr. Zweig referred to the fact that the 51% was removed in the 2011 bylaw form that the state proposed, and that is correct. We are aware of that. It was removed. We are aware of that form. We kept that 51% because we felt we absolutely needed something to define accessory. The trouble that people had understanding that is, well, okay, we were using 2 years of power usage on the site as an indication of what the power consumption would be for that site, to size the turbine and know that 51% would be used. Now, the question we kept getting is, well, okay, if the next year or following years their usage dropped so that they were only using 25%, were we going to make them shut the turbine down? No. We're not the turbine police. We're not the bedroom police. If you give that information based upon the information that you have collected in the application process, that will stand for use on that site. We wanted, that's it? That's the one you were interested in then, principally.
Yes, and my comments will be very similar to the previous speaker, Mr. Zweig. In taking them one at a time, I know you're looking for definition, and I have a hard time, and I cannot vote for the article with the 51%, because I am a current solar hot water heater home from 1976. I drive a hybrid car. I do feel that this bylaw limits the energy policy of the national government, and to reduce the use of the harmful fossil fuels that we're using to produce electricity that's just ruining the environment in which we live in. And for me to vote for an article that says you can't put a wind turbine up unless you use 51% of the electricity is a violation of what I believe in, but we should be reducing the fossil fuels that we use to produce electricity, whatever that means. I realize in the planning board, I take my hats off to them, and I think maybe with a few comments we could come back in the spring with some of these addressed. I cannot agree with the 51%. Not only, as Mr. Zweig just told us, the Green Communities Act, I also mentioned the National Energy Policy of reducing our dependence on foreign fuels. And windmills are not going to reduce the number of tankers that deliver foreign oil to the United States. But it's an attempt, it's a step in the right direction. And I think that the town of Falmouth's bylaws, should promote that. And lastly, And I know the problem is size, and if size is a problem, we measure size in feet in the diameter of the turbine blades. I'm going to hold up a cell phone. Just think of the size and the technology, and that's what this bylaw, and my second criticism, is that this bylaw puts a damper on the technology and the creativity, of the people that produce our technology. Go back 20 years to your bag phone. Here I can take your picture tonight, hit a button, and send it to anywhere around the world. It not only talks, it texts, it's a camera. And I think what the planning board has done, give us a definition, we can't build a turbine that's X amount of feet, but don't say 250 kilowatts, because that's using antiquated technology. And I think that's what Mr. Zweig, and he and I both have never talked about this, but I have to echo his comments. I was in the education business for 35 years. This bylaw puts a stop to the creativity of technology. If you want it in feet, say feet. I support the essence of the document. I would like it reworked. I will not support the passage of it tonight, but I support the essence of it. They had a very hard time. But let's address size, and let's not do anything to stop the destruction of the environment through the fossil fuels. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Mr. Donahue? In the center section.
Bob Donahue, Precinct 3. I would like to sit with the chairman on this side of this measure. I feel that we have a committee in action, and they are working on this problem. They have been working all summer and part of the spring. Let's let them do the next 4 weeks or 6 weeks, whatever it takes. Let them come back and get a consensus of what they feel their positions are and where the town sits. I also want to say that in establishing a new bylaw, do we in any way weaken our position if we go to court with anyone who feels that we have done wrong by them? So I feel the selectmen should have the time. We have another meeting in May, and we can vote on this issue at that time. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Latimer.
Let me confess that I was the minority member in most of the debates in the planning board. I was the one who was holding out for a different standard for accessory use. I was the one who was holding out for less restrictions on this. But you know, what we were doing is we were hearing from people like Mr. Zweig, and we were hearing from people who live up near the turbines in West Falmouth. And what we were doing was we were achieving a balance. And as Pat Kerfoot had said, it's a balance that was designed to do the minimal potential harm. And the harm that we'd be talking about would be the very kind of harm that people up on West Falmouth are dealing with now when they're in their dealings with the selectmen. And that's what we're concerned about, is being cautious at this point so that we don't make the mistake that's going to hurt people. The harm that Mr. Zweig is talking about is, well, somebody might build a smaller turbine than he otherwise would. That doesn't anywhere near compare to the kind of harm that would occur if there is some real basis to this wind turbine syndrome, which I have an open mind on. If there is, I mean, the harm that could be done by allowing much larger turbines and much more production town-wide could do a lot of harm to a lot more people. So the planning board, in its collective wisdom, despite me being the minority member, decided, well, let's go for to be cautious. But as Pat has said, we can tweak this. We can amend this. If the new technology comes out in the next 6 months that Mr. Zweig has said about, he can come to the planning board with a proposal to amend this to accommodate that new kind of technology, and we can amend it. This board, this meeting here does that. And I would correct Mr. Donohue, the selectmen are not working on this problem. The selectmen are working on a problem that was created under the old bylaw. And it's an intractable problem. And if we don't get something done and don't get it done before April 30th, we'll be back to that old bylaw, and that will be a problem. This problem that we have here is how to get something done in time without waiting till the last minute, because when you wait till the last minute for anything, you generally get it wrong. And so that's why this is the optimal time to get this bylaw passed by a 2/3 majority. If it needs to be tweaking, we can tweak it over the next 6 months, and let's move on. Thank you.
Mr. Herbst.
Yeah, Ralph Herbst, Precinct 8. Mr. Zweig's point about the more recent revision of the state suggested example bylaw is a perfect example of what we have had to struggle with for the last 2 years. Changes are happening all the time, and we cannot continue to kick the can down the road. We have to do this now, and it can be modified as technology changes, as the terrain changes, as our population changes, as the build-out in this town changes. This can be modified. But we didn't work for almost 2 years on this, going over volumes of information from countries all over the world. And we were absolutely convinced, beyond the shadow of a doubt, that there is very little consensus on how you go ahead with something such as this bylaw. We need to pass the bylaw. We need to do it tonight, and we can modify it if necessary, and that's where the planning board stands. Thank you very much.
Okay, new information, Ms. Driscoll? Something new? No, Ms. Driscoll was next on my list. I'll put you on the list, Mr. Heath.
Kathy Driscoll, Precinct 7. In regard to the meteorological tower requirement, it is a requirement. You need to have one installed for at least a year. And the cost to that for any owner or owner investor is going to be anywhere from $3,500 to upwards of $20,000. It is very limiting to any type of installation that can be put in this town. In many cases, it's going to be prohibitive to someone who wants to be able to put a wind turbine system, whether it's small or up to the 250, in the town. It is in essence saying that we may not be able to do it economically. And you couple that with the 51% on-site consumption, and again, you have an additional economic restriction.
Mr. Antonucci?
Yeah, Bob Antonucci, Precinct 6. I think we should not vote this article tonight. We have a history here of rushing into things, and I don't like us to be pushed into doing something tonight. My constituents have asked me to vote against it for one reason. We haven't straightened out the problem of the current turbines, and until we straighten out that problem, we should not address any other issues dealing with turbines. I urge you tonight to consider that. I don't criticize the work of the planning board. I think they've done a great job. But what is the rush? There is no rush. Let the bylaw expire. I also feel that this town should not build any more turbines anywhere, any street, any neighborhood, until the problem that I live with in West Falmouth is taken care of. Let's take care of that problem first. Let's use our energy there. Let's exert our influence. Let's exert our power. And let's take care of our own neighbors before we start putting more restrictions and build more turbines. I urge you tonight to vote this article down.
Mr. Heath? Okay, let's do the new information because I've got a growing list here, and I think all the issues are out. I'm not hearing anything new. Mr. Heath, new information?
But everyone else is presented them. I'm going to vote for the proposal on the floor because we have to start somewhere. We have to put some limitations on. This will be amended in the future. There are parts of it that are not perfect. Accessory uses often have the permission of the abutters. It's not called for. The present problem with the turbines in West Falmouth are going to come before this meeting in May. And when they come before this meeting in May, if there needs to be an exception to this bylaw, I'm sure the planning board and the Board of Selectmen can work together to pass a one-time exemption for any solution they come up with. I tend to think, from what has been said before, that moving them into Falmouth will be extremely difficult, particularly in the light of more recent information where people are talking of a 3,000 or 4,000 foot setback for turbines of this size. I also think that this gives the town more control. I don't believe in the public purpose clause as a means of the town doing anything they want to. Under that, they could even withhold licenses, open bars as a public purpose, and that's exactly what the second turbine is. We don't save much fossil fuel with wind energy because we are a suburban area. And suburban areas want 24/7 electricity. That means the big generating plants, whether they be nuclear or coal or natural gas, which are the three sources of our electricity, have to run even when the turbines are running. You can't turn them on and off like a light bulb. They take days to cool down for maintenance work. That's why they're out for a month, often, reducing the capacity that we have for all of us. Wind turbines should be task-orientated. They can be very valuable there. That's what the wind turbines that used to pump irrigation water did. If they could fill a tank and it was used over a period of time, all they had to hope for was that the wind would blow again before the tank was empty. They're storing the output. None of us can do that. Washington and Boston are pursuing a dream that won't work. Meanwhile, it is the law, it is profitable because of big subsidies, most of which are passed on to the ratepayers, so we have to handle the problem. And this proposed bylaw is a good start. I don't think it's going to last forever, and I think it'll need to be modified. But I encourage people here to vote for it. At least it's a start. We can't kick it down the road. And we have to count on both the planning board and the Board of Selectmen. If there is a way to move these turbines, and it won't cause the same problem it's causing now, that they've got to work together and come before this meeting in May with a solution. Please vote for it.
Ms. Kerfoot.
There have been a couple of objections to the Met Tower because of the expense. We were aware of that in our discussions. That came up a number of times. We're also aware that there is data out there that could be used. Therefore, within this bylaw, the special permit granting authority, which is the planning board, can waive that requirement.
Ms. Putnam.
Rebecca Putnam, Precinct 9. I would like to ask town meeting to vote this down. Being put under the gun, being told that we have X number of days or months to pass this before something happens again. First of all, nobody knows of any large wind turbine projects coming back into this town right now. So there is no rush for this. And second, everybody should go home and look at how many kilowatts you use per month on your electric bill. Because limiting to 250, I know denitrification septic systems with small horsepower engines or motors that use 191 per month. And we're trying to become a green community. We really need to go back. Let's get it right once and not have to go back and tweak and tweak and tweak. It's just not the appropriate way to do this. We have issues that have to be addressed. I'm not for or against wind turbines, but we have to address the issues, and let's get it right once. And I'd like to move the vote.
Mr. Moriarty.
Good evening, everyone. Dave Moriarty, Precinct 6. I'd just like to remind everyone that, prior to the installation of the wind turbines, no family in Falmouth has ever been driven out of their home. No individual in Falmouth has had to go seek psychiatric treatment, take all kinds of psychiatric drugs. No child has ever been kept up all night and not been able to do their homework. So I think the turbine bylaw prior to is much better than the one they're proposing tonight. So I am going to vote this down. Thank you.
Okay, this requires a 2/3 vote. I'm going to call the question. This requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor of Article 3 as recommended signify by standing and the teller's a return account. All those in favor of Article 3. In the first division, Mrs. Taschereau, 17. In the third division, Mr. Hampson, 35. In the second division, Mr. Dufresne, 35. All those opposed signify by standing. In the first division, Mrs. Taschereau, 24. In the third division, Mr. Hampson, 33. The second division, Mr. Dufresne, 53. By a counted vote of 87 in favor and 110 opposed, the article does not pass, and the meeting will stand in recess for 15 minutes.
Falmouth Community Television presents Town Meeting, Fall 2012. FCTV's live gavel-to-gavel coverage of Falmouth Town Meeting is made possible through the generous contributions of the following corporate sponsors.
Hi, I'm Margaret Gifford.
And I'm Pat Thatcher. We're members of the team at Sotheby's International Realty in Falmouth. And Falmouth has been so busy with real estate.
Yes, it has. I've been so busy I haven't had time to color my hair.
Margaret, that's way too busy.
I know.
Still, it's a great time for buyers because interest rates remain at historic lows.
And it's a great time for sellers because the inventory is so low.
So that's increasing demand.
Yes, it is.
Don't you love Falmouth?
Nestled in a classic New England setting amid 200-year-old elm trees and charming colonial homes, stately sea captains' homes, and charming Cape Cod salt boxes, Shoreway Acres is a graceful blend of Cape Cod's past and present. Shoreway Acres, proud sponsor of Falmouth Community Television.
Founder Abraham Penn taught a valuable lesson that has been part of a tradition since 1919 when he said, "I'd rather make a friend than make a sale." For more than 90 years, Puritan has been making friends as a unique family-owned company right here in Cape Cod. At Puritan Cape Cod on 199 Main Street, as well as Chatham, Mashpee, and Hyannis, you'll find the latest in men's and women's clothing, as well as ski and tennis equipment, and much more. Puritan Cape Cod, 548-0116 or PuritanCapeCod.com.
Welcome to Falmouth. If you're a visitor, this is where surf and sun meet for fun. If you're a resident, this is where you'll find the businesses and the resources necessary to fill all of your needs. If you're a business person, this can be your home. Join with other men and women who work together to make this a sustainable economy year-round. Welcome to Falmouth, Cape Cod.
Green Harbor Waterfront Lodging is nestled in a woodland setting on a picturesque ocean inlet. Green Harbor offers so much for a fun-filled yet affordable family waterfront vacation. Enjoy our private boating beach with ramp and dock, free rowboats and paddle boats, oversized heated outdoor pool and kiddie pool. You'll enjoy our attractive waterfront and beachside accommodations. So visit us online at gogreenharbor.com.
Cavosa Excavating is a family-owned and operated company specializing in the installation of Title V septic systems. Cavosa Excavating is one of the largest septic system installers on Cape Cod. Whether it's upgrading your current system or installing a whole new system, Cavosa Excavating can do the job. Cavosa Excavating, 508-563-5530.
Remember, WC Communications is your printing team. We are calm and cool under pressure. You can call us at 508-563-7366 or toll free at 1-800-696-7303.
Internet services provided by Cape.com Incorporated. Established in 1994, Cape.com is the only locally owned and operated internet service provider on Cape Cod. Our specialties include e-commerce applications and design, wide area networking services, and high-speed DSL internet access throughout eastern Massachusetts. Cape.com continues to lead the way with cutting-edge applications, superior networking services, and quality customer support. For more information, visit us at www.cape.com or call us at 539-9500.
The Nimrod, a restaurant steeped in history and tradition, is located on Dillingham Avenue. Their phone number is 508-540-4132. They offer an extensive lunch and dinner menu for all your tastes and spirits for any occasion. The Nimrod features music to suit all moods in a warm atmosphere. The Nimrod is a proud sponsor of Falmouth Community Television and their coverage of town meeting. Stop by and visit us at the Nimrod Restaurant.
Additional funding and support provided by the following corporate sponsors.
We've earned people's trust for over 180 years. We're proud of our heritage.
and the enduring relationships we've built with our clients. For us, trust is more than a word. It's the only way we do business, and it's why people choose Janney.
Leah McGuire's Irish Pub, Main Street, downtown Falmouth. What an Irish pub should be. Sláinte.
Hi, this is Robert Pino of Mortgage Security, located right here in the town of Falmouth for 21 years. We're a direct lender, a mortgage banker. You make your payments locally. And we've got a great staff, a courteous staff, and a very friendly staff.
Bayside Kitchen and Bath on Main Street in Falmouth, where design and installation professionals work closely with homeowners, architects, and builders. Offering a full range of cabinetry, flooring, faucets, and green alternatives, Bayside Kitchen and Bath, returning you to beautiful spaces.
Eastman's has been Falmouth's hardware store since 1913. Today, we offer a paint department, over 30,000 fasteners in stock, and a friendly staff to assist with all your hardware needs. 508-548-0407.
Beata Nurses provides home health care for you or your loved one. Whether you need homemaking, home health aid, or skilled visit services, from 1 hour to 24-hour care, Beata Nurses provides a safe home life with comfort, independence, and dignity. 508-540-0071.
Wild Harbor General Store, located in historic North Falmouth Village, providing quality goods and services for 170 years. Continuing to make history with our support of FCTV's coverage of Falmouth Town Meeting.
Carpet Barn, Carpet One Home Showcase, a local family-owned business offering all your premier carpet and flooring needs. They also feature tile and vinyl floors, area rugs, window treatments, and kitchen and bathroom cabinetry, serving you at 4 convenient locations.
Bringing you the news through the years, The Enterprise. Their subscription information line is 508-299-8379, and you can visit them on the web at www.capenews.net. Cavosa Disposal is proud to provide trash removal services to local businesses in Falmouth. Cavosa Disposal would like to thank its customers in Falmouth. Cavosa Disposal, 563-5070.
FCTV is also supported by the following businesses and organizations. Michael A. Duffany Builders, Incorporated, 508-540-3625. Kevin D. Callahan, your full-service law firm at Homeport, 457-7700. Falmouth Volunteers in Public Schools, 508-548-1621. The Bank of Cape Cod, at 445 Main Street in Falmouth, bankofcapecod.com. Wood Lumber Company at 81 Locust Street, 508-548-3154. Neighborhood Falmouth, meeting seniors' needs, 564-7543, neighborhoodfalmouth.org. Green Shuttle of Cape Cod, 866-934-6476, or gogreenshuttle.com. Foley Real Estate at 703 Main Street. The number is 548-3415. M.R. Sars & Company, Flower Garden Nursery at Sandwich Road in Hatchville, 548-5288. Danny's Barbershop, 508-548-6013. Eight Cousins Bookstore at 189 Main Street in Falmouth, 548-5548. Paul's Precision Automotive Repair at 464 Main Street, 508-548-3164. David Rogers Electrician, Residential, Commercial, Industrial, 564-7507. Murray McDonald Insurance Services Incorporated at 406 Jones Road in Falmouth and 550 MacArthur Boulevard in Bourne. Falmouth Fish Market at 157 T-Ticket Highway in Falmouth. Hamilton Tree Incorporated, 508-563-7633 or www.hamtreeandland.com. Oppenheim & Nickerson LLP. Their law office is at 156 Locust Street, 508-548-8255. Davy Tree and Lawn at 996 East Falmouth Highway, 548-2662. Andy's Barbershop in the Falmouth Plaza. Arthur D. Calfee Insurance with 2 locations at 121 Conby Road in North Falmouth and 336 Gifford Street in Falmouth. Chapman Cole & Gleason, 508-540-4172. Hanush Jewelers, now at 352 Main Street in downtown Falmouth. The number is 548-9107. Mahoney's Garden Center at Route 28 in East Falmouth. The number is 508-548-4842. Vincent Associates Real Estate at 159 Main Street in Town Hall Square. The number is 548-6500. The Cape Cod 5 at 763 Main Street. The number is 457-5252. Cape Cod Cleaning, 508-563-7622. Steve's Pizzeria and More at 374 Main Street in the center of town, 457-9454 or 457-9636.